Here we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Renewable Heat Now's May Power Hour. We have a really great program for you tonight with some excellent speakers. We're so excited to have you all with us tonight. If you're just zooming in, please introduce yourselves in the chat. Tell us your name, pronouns, your location in New York, and one word that describes how you're feeling tonight. We wish we had time on these power hours to all introduce ourselves and get to know each other better, but this will have to do for now. And I see people are still trickling in. So, welcome, welcome. Let's go to the next slide and we'll walk over the agenda for the meeting. There we are. Okay, so tonight's agenda about the Renewable Heat Now campaign. The New York State budget, it is done. The budget bills are still, I believe, in the act of being voted upon. A lot of them have already been voted upon, and others are being voted on probably right now as we speak here on this Zoom. And by tomorrow, the budget will be completely done. And so, what's in, what's out, and what's next? And we have Liz Moran from Earth Justice to go through all of that. And then there is an element of the New York Heat Act that sometimes our legislators and even our advocates sometimes have trouble understanding or need more information. And that is the provision about 6% of household income and how we're going to get everybody in New York under that 6% so that energy is more affordable for everybody. And we have with us tonight Annie Carforo from We Act, who is somewhat of an expert on the 6% and has is going to walk us through that and take maybe some of your questions if we have time. And then grassroots action. We have to keep up the grassroots pressure since, spoiler alert, New York Heat was not in the budget. And New York Heat is our top priority here at Renewable Heat Now. So Andra Lehmanis is from Agree is going to walk us through a bunch of the upcoming grassroots actions. We're going to take some action together and we'll get you out of here right at 8 o'clock as promised. So let's dive in, shall we? Next slide. So Renewable Heat Now is a campaign made of more than 20, I think we're maybe over 25 organizations all across New York that are focused on one goal, which is how to decarbonize New York's building sector, how to get fossil fuel burning out of buildings so that we have safer, healthier homes, that we cut harmful greenhouse gas emissions, and we stop the massive spending on the gas system that is crippling us and raising energy bills. So we've been working this campaign for, I think, 8 years now. And we've been working on legislation explicitly around these goals for 4 years. We're very happy to have all of you, whether you're a member of an organization that's an official part of Renewable Heat Now, or a member of an organization that works with these same goals, or not a member of any organization, just an advocate who cares about clean energy and healthy homes. We're very happy to have you as a part of this campaign. Next slide. So the New York Heat Act, HEAT stands for Home Energy Affordable Transition. We are going to transition our home energy and we're going to make sure it's affordable. While we do that, that's the goal. We need this bill and we're going to talk about it a lot tonight. This has been our top priority since it was first introduced under another name a few years ago, but we've known it. This is the third year in a row that we've calling it the New York Heat Act. It's the best version of this bill we've ever had, the most exciting version. It's very clear, it's very sensible, it's very popular, and we need it. Our tagline is cleaner heat, lower bills, because that's sort of the easiest way we can say what the bill does in 4 words. But we're going to talk about it in a lot more than 4 words tonight and keep educating and advocating for this bill until we pass it. Next slide, please. I'm just going to briefly say that there's 3 main components of the New York Heat Act. I'm not going to go into them in any detail because Liz is going to do that later. And all 3 parts are ways that save people money, either sooner or later. And so the first part ends the subsidy that we are all paying to expand the gas system. And the second part um, ends the gas mandate. It changes the public service law and allows gas utilities to provide other forms of energy, cleaner forms of energy, and spend our money on better things than frack gas pipes. And the third part is what Annie's going to be talking about in depth, and that is meeting New York State's already stated goal on how to make sure energy is affordable for everyone. So and there's a one pager, I believe, in the chat that you can download, print, and study and share. Next slide, please. All right, without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to Liz Moran. This is probably the third time today that Liz has talked to a group of people about what's in the budget, what's not in the budget, and what we're going to do about it. So this third time is going to be the best time. And take it away, Liz.
Thanks, Lisa. It's the best time because I'm talking to all of you. Hey, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Liz Moran, your policy advocate with Earth Justice. So this is a beautiful chart that very cleanly explains what we've been advocating for and what we did and didn't get in this final budget. So I'm not going to go over every single piece here. But as you can see, we got some stuff in the final budget. But there's a lot of room for improvement with the remainder of time we have this session. So as you can see, if this was a scorecard, the Senate would get a 100%. They included all of the renewable heat now priorities: NY Heat, fully funded gap fund, the energy affordability program, thermal energy networks, and an expanded geothermal tax credit. But unfortunately, the final budget only has a couple things. We do have a starting point for gap. That's really exciting. We asked for 200 million. We only got 2 million. But the nice thing is, once something is in the budget, you can advocate to keep that in future budgets and grow that money. So that's good. The other win of the budget is our expanded geothermal energy tax credit. So that's great. But when it comes to energy affordability, this budget really didn't do the trick. And we know we need NY Heat to be passed by this session for the legislature, especially the assembly, to be able to go back home to their districts and tell their constituents, we passed policy to address the endless tide of utility rate hikes. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so now that we know what we have left to do this session, how are we going to do it? What's next? So folks may have feelings towards the governor right now, which I can understand. But what I would like to see as a vibe is Governor who? At the end of the day, we have to count on our legislature to deliver here, especially the assembly. So our prime focus from now until June 17th, when they're scheduled to end, is on the assembly. Your assembly member needs to be doing everything they can to get the NY Heat Act across the finish line. Here's some talking points for how you can make the best case for NY Heat. Number one, energy affordability. We're seeing rate hikes happening across the state right now, and NY Heat is pivotal to making sure consumers across New York don't keep getting hit with these rate hikes. We also have provisions in the bill to make sure that we are keeping energy bills affordable for people with a 6% planning process. I'll get into that later. This is a planning bill, not a banning bill. For those of you who have heard, especially minority members in the state legislature, they love the expression, "We need a plan, not a ban." NY Heat is exactly that. It doesn't ban gas, but it does enable smart energy planning, which is going to be especially important as we deal with an unpredictable federal administration. Speaking of which, helps Trump proof New York. It wasn't too long ago that the Trump administration decided to slash all staffing for LIHEAP, which is the Home Energy Affordability Program. So we need NY Heat to make sure we're protecting consumers in New York, that we're protecting them from a volatile administration that is unpredictable and could cause us to have higher energy bills. Other angles that may be persuasive depending on who you're talking to. NY Heat will help make homes more affordable to live in, cheaper, and healthier, right? We all know that gas in homes is dirty and polluting for people. So allowing for alternatives to gas means cleaner heat and cooling in people's homes. And last but not least, NY Heat is critical for addressing the growing climate crisis. Buildings are the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in New York State. This very sensible planning bill will help us stay on track with our climate law mandates. Next slide. I'll keep this really brief. We're finally done with the budget. It was very late. They're still voting on it. So now we have to deal with the last stretch of session. The last day of session was extended to June 17th, which means we're going to have to go all hands on deck to make sure every majority member in the assembly is hearing from their constituents about why they need NY Heat. So this will be we'll go over more of these tactics later, but we have a slew of activities planned to make sure that these lawmakers don't go a day without hearing from somebody about NY Heat. Next slide. How to explain NY Heat. So a lot of folks here have been participating in lobby meetings, calling your elected officials, and we have a big undertaking here. Our opponents have done a phenomenal job confusing lawmakers and, frankly, the general public about climate, broadly speaking. So we have to make sure we're very clear about what NY Heat does and explaining every provision of the bill. We have to keep things simple, and we have to make sure that we aren't answering questions we don't know the answer to. So ultimately, the easiest way to explain NY Heat is that this is a solution we need to stabilize people's energy bills. This is the solution we need to address endless utility rate hikes, because these rate hikes are happening due to the mandated expansion of expensive and dirty gas infrastructure. NY Heat is common sense. It enables us to pursue cheaper alternatives to gas, and every provision of NY Heat is a cost savings measure that tackles these issues head on. So next slide. As Lisa mentioned earlier, there are 3 key provisions to NY Heat, and every provision of NY Heat is a cost savings measure. The first provision I'm going to go over is the provision that changes the obligation to serve, or the gas mandate. This will allow for better system planning in New York State. It doesn't ban gas. It doesn't ban gas infrastructure. It's actually the all of the above strategy that our opponents love to pretend they care about. Right now, our law mandates gas infrastructure expansion and delivery, even when it's expensive and there are cheaper alternatives available. By changing this section of law, NY Heat allows utilities to at least explore cheaper options for customers. Doing this is going to help prevent future rate hikes. Next slide. The next 2 provisions. We also cut a needless subsidy known as the 100-foot rule. This is a subsidy that all ratepayers are covering for customers to get hooked up to gas for free, but it's not for free. because we're all paying for it to the tune of $200 million every single year. New York State is already on track to mandate all electric new construction starting next year. This just doesn't make sense to do anymore. If somebody wants a gas hookup at this point, they should be on the financial hook, not every other ratepayer. And then last but not least, which I'm really excited to pass over to Annie in a bit to talk about more, NY Heat makes sure that we have a plan to achieve 6% energy affordability. What does that mean? New York State already has a goal to achieve that no household, particularly no low to moderate income household, pays more than 6% of their income on their energy bills. But right now, the state's not doing a good job of meeting that goal. So NY Heat mandates a plan to finally achieve this goal. Doesn't say how to achieve this goal, but there's a lot of ways that this goal can be achieved. So all this does is say, hey, we've got this goal. People are paying way too much for their energy bills right now, and we should figure out a way to make sure energy bills are affordable for everyone. So I'm wrapped up with my slides, but before I pass it along, I want to have a little test. So there are a lot of questions that come up about NY Heat, and some of them are from our opponents. So I'm going to share a common question, and if folks want to put in the chat how you would answer that question, I would be really interested to see. So a really common question we get is, how are we going to pay for this? Isn't it too expensive for people to retrofit their homes for electrification? How would you answer that?
Put it in the chat. Okay, I see Gail says with money saved from not building out the gas infrastructure. And someone agrees with
Perfect.
Gail.
I gave you guys an easy one. No, I'm just kidding. Good job, though. That's right. It wouldn't cost people anything. The idea is it would work exactly the way things work right now. Instead of people getting gas, utilities would cover it with the cost saved and do everything for customers that they need, whether it's weatherizing their home, installing new equipment. Ratepayers wouldn't be on the hook. And it sounds too good to be true, but we know that it already has been happening in parts of New York State. So we want to have more of that take place. So that's great. So just bear in mind, when you get questions about NY Heat, be very thoughtful about how you answer them. And if you don't know the answer, make sure you promise a lawmaker you'll get back to them and answer that question later. Because there are some tricky ones. A trickier one is, what about high energy users? I have a steel mill in my district. I don't know if they can electrify. How would folks answer that?
That's a tough one, Liz.
It is a tough one. So I'll share with you guys the actual answer. The answer is, under NY Heat, if there's a facility that is a high energy user, they are protected. They wouldn't be part of a neighborhood that's selected for one of these projects. So the bill has a number of protections to answer these common questions. There have been questions in the chat that I see for an FAQ. So yeah, we're going to do what we can to get you a FAQ. The nice thing about the bill is almost every common question can be answered with bill text, but you have to know where to look. So I won't take up any more time. I think I'll turn it over to Annie.
Amazing. Thank you, Liz. And Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Annie. I am the Climate Justice Campaign Manager over at We Act for Environmental Justice. And I'm going to do a bit of a deeper dive building off what Liz just shared with us about the one of the pillars of New York Heat, which is this plan to achieve the 6% energy burden goal. This is a really important part of the bill. It's almost like an affordability guarantee, right? It ensures that all New Yorkers can afford their energy bills, that they're not paying a disproportionate amount of their monthly income to cover their gas and their light bills. It's also, I think, gotten a little misconstrued. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I think that our opposition has really cannibalized on this pillar of the bill and made it into something that it's not. So we want to get the record straight and equip you all with the talking points and the deeper understanding of what this part of the bill is actually trying to do. So in order to understand where this kind of idea for a 6% of household income energy burden goal came from, it newsflash, and Liz kind of went over this, but New York Heat did not come up with this idea from scratch. This was really enforcing a prior goal that was set by the state in 2016. So rewind 9 years, the governor, the Public Service Commission, which is our regulatory body that regulates our for-profit utilities, so they have a lot of involvement in the costs of energy that we pay on a day-to-day basis. These big, the Public Service Commission and the governor, they all committed to this goal that no New Yorker was going to pay more than 6% of their monthly income towards their utility bills. That's kind of the level that is considered, if you pay more than 6%, you're considered energy burdened, which means you're spending too much of your monthly income to cover your utilities. And this was a really ambitious goal. Advocates were happy to hear the governor embrace this at the time, the Public Service Commission embraced this, and there was hope that there would finally start to be some movement to reduce the amount of energy burden in the state. The unfortunate reality, as many of us who have worked in politics for a long time see, that not much has happened since 2016. And in fact, our energy affordability crisis in the state has actually gotten worse. To date, in 2025, 1 in 7 households are behind on their utility bills, which has made utility debt explode. It's increased to nearly $2 billion, which is how high it was during the pandemic, and I think that's the highest it's ever been. And 1 in 4 households are still paying more than 6% of their income on utility bills. So while this goal that the Public Service Commission and the governor and everybody set in 2016, while it sounded good, it was really just rhetoric, and we've seen very little movement or very little political will to actually accomplish this goal. So that's where New York Heat comes in. New York Heat, to be very clear, what New York Heat was trying to do, or is trying to do, it's trying to overcome this lack of political will by requiring, and we can go to the next slide actually, by requiring the state to come up with a plan of exactly how they're going to accomplish this goal. And this has been a piece of the bill that has gotten a lot of the public and a lot of us advocates really excited. And it has evolved over time between 2024 and 2025 of what it actually does. So I want to talk about 2024 at first. So in 2024, you might have heard us refer to this as the 6% cap. This was going to, New York Heat, the way the bill was written, was going to ideally cap energy costs at 6% of household income. What the language explicitly said was, very simply, we wanted to codify the 6% energy burden goal into law. We wanted to give it some teeth. As a goal, nothing was happening. If it was law, we could hold the state accountable to actually accomplishing it. The bill in 2024 also said, so it codified the 6% into law, and then it required the PSC within 1 year of the bill passing to come up with a plan, a roadmap of exactly how they were going to reduce the energy burdens for the most burdened New York households so that they were not paying more than 6% of their income on energy. Really ambitious, an affordability guarantee, and something that is still incredibly important to advocates across the state and to people across the state who are paying too much on their utility bills. However, like I mentioned, our opposition really took a hold of this messaging and spread a ton of misinformation that this was going to cost the state billions of dollars, that there was no way to do this. The utilities, even some utilities spoke up and said, we don't have any idea of how we would actually implement this. And they started to sow seeds of doubt. And the 6% cap became a bit of a lightning rod. If you lobbied for New York Heat last year, you more than likely had a conversation with the legislator who said, I support New York Heat, but I don't support the 6% cap. It's too expensive. And that was really unfortunate. And it required us to, as we do in policy all the time, we didn't want to lose the heart of what this was trying to accomplish, but we did have to compromise on the language. And we needed to make it a little bit more palatable for a lot of these legislators that were getting very hung up on these talking points from our opposition, that this was going to cost billions and billions of dollars. So fast forward to 2025, New York Heat got a lot of amendments. It got like a facelift, right? We wanted to make it a little bit more approachable for some assembly members. And we amended the 6% cap. All we did was we took out the language that would codify it into law. We realized that was what was really scaring people. And we were okay to lose that because we kept the meat of the intended goal, which is we wanted the Public Service Commission to put pen to paper and write out how they were going to do it, how they were going to reduce energy burdens for households paying more than 6% of their income in a way that, in a public-facing state document that we could all rally around and advocate for implementation. So that is what is in the law, is to come up with a plan using all available tools that the state has at its disposal. This doesn't cost any money. A plan is $0, but what it is going to do is put the Public Service Commission on the record for really building out a strategy for how to finally address the energy burden that households are experiencing that they've long ignored. I hope that makes sense. I want to transition to talk about what do we mean when we say all available tools, right? Because I think what our opposition did was say, the state's just going to throw money at the problem. If somebody can't afford their bills, they're going to just dump billions and billions of dollars to lower people's bills. And we live in a neoliberal society where that makes people angry. But that's not true. And that's because New York State has done a lot to try and address energy burdens already. I have to give us credit. We have a ton of different programs and initiatives and efforts to try and help lower people's energy bills. The problem is that these programs are not always talking to each other. They're not always implemented effectively, and they're not always reaching the people who need them the most. And so what we want to see in a plan is an acknowledgement of these problems and some proposed solutions, and really get the Public Service Commission to be talking about all of these different ideas that they maybe talk about in different spaces, talking about them all together in a more cohesive format. So when we say all available tools, we're talking about things that already exist. We're talking about some new programs that are potentially coming online. And so if you see a question mark, that is a program that has been, the state is committed to, but we don't actually know the felt impact quite yet. And we have lots of different ways that we can approach this problem. As Liz said, our bill doesn't tell the Public Service Commission how to do this. It just tells them to use the available tools to their disposal. So we actually worked on a report with the Acadia Center that I'm going to drop in the chat. It outlines a number of, oh, amazing. Thank you. It outlines a number of these different potential tools and their impact and ways that we can improve them. We have a bunch of different energy efficiency programs that we can, which is one of the best ways to immediately lower households' incomes. If you do a big weatherization or energy efficiency upgrade, you're going to see your bills cut in half or more. talking about ways that we can make sure that low-income households are accessing those programs, like through a gap fund, for example, to address hard to remediate barriers that are disqualifying low-income households. We have bill assistance programs like the Energy Affordability Program, like LIHEAP, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Energy Affordability Program in a second. We have oncoming bill credit programs like NYPA REACH credits, which came out of the Build Public Renewables Act. We've expanded community solar to try and reach more households. We also have Cap and Invest ? That was intended to provide bill credits to households to actually help reduce their energy costs, even if they're maybe seeing some cost rise elsewhere. And also a big bucket of work that the PSC has really avoided, but we want to push to start to talk about and think about is reforming our rate design. And there should be a question mark behind that because we haven't started that yet. But states like Colorado, Illinois, Massachusetts are doing really progressive things with how they are charging for energy to make it more affordable to electrify and to make it more equitable so that lower income households are not bearing the brunt of the cost of energy, and that we're really evening it out so that people are paying what they can afford. Last slide. I want to just end with a very specific example so you can see what we're talking about. Next slide. One more back. Thank you. So what are we talking about when we say, you know, these programs could be working more effectively? I want to zoom in on the Energy Affordability Program, which is in all means a pretty successful program. It is funded by all of us when we pay our bills monthly to our utilities. A very, very, very small portion of our bills or of the utilities revenue is fed into this Energy Affordability Program, which is helping income eligible households monthly to lower their bills. So it's like a bill assistance every month on their electric or their gas bill. It really works. It helps keep households out of it helps households pay their bills. It keeps them from falling behind. But only 42% of households that are eligible for this program are enrolled, which means across the state, 1.4 million households should be receiving this money from this program are not enrolled, and largely because they don't know about it. Their utility maybe hasn't told them, or it's not as easy to enroll. It's kind of like an extra step, or you have to know to do it. There's just a lot of barriers that we're finding are keeping people out of this program. What we have found, though, is that households that are enrolled in EAP, like I mentioned, are less likely to fall behind on their utility bills, which is good. That saves the state and that saves all of us money. Because when people can't pay their bills, we all, as ratepayers, everybody is covering the cost of those debts. And it's more expensive to cover the cost of debts than to just subsidize the EAP program itself. So we are spending money in very silly ways. And we're also hurting people because we're forcing folks to fall behind on their bills, go into utility debt, risk a disconnection, which is very stressful and very difficult for families to navigate. So an example of what the PSC could look at in their plan, if New York Heat was to pass, is how do we make sure that all the households that are supposed to be enrolled in EAP are fully enrolled? That's one of many steps that can be taken to make sure that we are slowly but surely reducing energy burden for households that need it the most. So it's very manageable. It's very possible to do this. This is not going to cost the state billions of dollars, but what this is going to do, you know, New York Heat is a plan, not a ban. I love that. This is another plan. This is making the state use their resources more effectively and strategically. So we wanted to clear that up. We wanted to make sure you're all equipped with as much information as you need so that you can talk to your legislators about this, because unfortunately we are still hearing legislators say, well, the 6% cap is going to be too expensive. We can't do that, or it's going to be impossible to implement. And it's really not, you know, we've changed the language. And so we want to make sure that they know that and that they know what we're asking for is, like the rest of this bill, very reasonable and needs to happen now. So thank you so much. We have a lot of other things to cover, but if there is time for questions, we can do questions or I can answer them in the chat.
Thank you, Annie and Liz. Those were great presentations. I think this, we don't have a ton of time for questions. So I think what people could do, and some have already started, is put questions in the chat. And Annie and Liz, you could, if you could answer them in the chat. But I think we better move on because we want to really dig into what's coming up next, because we now have about 1 month till the end of the legislative session to pass New York Heat. So I see some questions in the chat. There's a question from Anne and maybe some others if you guys don't mind. And I'm going to turn the meeting over to Andra Lehmanis, who's going to start to talk us through how we're going to keep the most sensible, strategic, and powerful grassroots pressure on, so that that legislators will feel that they can't go home without passing this bill.
Thank you, Lisa. So now we all have received talking points of the experts on every aspect of the bill. And it can seem a little overwhelming, but don't worry, you will get the slides, you will get the presentation sent to you in the coming days, and you'll have all of this at your fingertips. So as you so well know, we need to keep up and even increase the grassroots pressure to get New York Heat past this session. And we have done a lot already this year. And in the coming month, we are going to do even more. Next slide, please. So after the success of the numerous New York Heat events that were associated with Earth Day, we started talking about how effective it would be to have in-district New York Heat events with our assembly members post-budget through the end of May. And we were really hoping to get like a handful of events, but our advocates have been doing such a great job and reaching out to legislators and allies across the state so rapidly that as of today, we already have 7 events on the list. I'm counting, yes, it is 7. And if you'd like to host an event in your area, please do reach out to us. But so far we have the We Act Energy Affordability Teach-In in the Bronx on the 14th. Food and Water Watch has put up 4 events so far for Newburgh, Rockville Center, Poughkeepsie, and the Upper West Side. Sane Energy Project is hosting a fossil fuel walking tour, their special New York Heat edition. And the Association for Energy Affordability is hosting a Breathe Easy event, which is an event that combines information about the many benefits of induction ranges versus gas ranges, and information about getting help with utility bills and advocacy opportunities for advocating for the New York Heat Act. Next slide, please. And as usual, we are working closely with our allies at New York Renews. New York Renews has set up 2 weeks of virtual lobby visits with legislators, and the New York Heat Act is part of their Fund Climate platform. So guess what? We are all invited to sign up for these virtual lobby meetings and advocate for the New York Heat Act to pass this session. And here is the link for the New York Renews hosted virtual lobby meetings. Let's see. Am I too far ahead of you?
Nope, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. Oh, did you already get it? I'm just grabbing it now. Sorry, Andra. Go ahead and why don't you describe what we want people to do, and I'm going to put it.
It's okay, I got it. Okay, good. So if you click on that link, and I suggest that you do that right now if you can. So open that link and scroll down, and you will see, I'm opening the link too, and you will see a list of 10 events, but there are actually 50 events. So right before the first event, right above that in the right-hand corner above where it says view event, you'll see some small gray numbers, and those are page numbers. So take a look through page 1 and see if your legislator is there. If not, you can go on to page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and just take a quick look through for a few minutes right now and see if your senator or assembly member has a scheduled virtual lobby visit. And if they do, make a note of it and you can sign up for that. Also, make a note of other legislator names you might see for friends who aren't here tonight. but who usually do help advocate for New York Heat and who might want to sign up for something like that. These have already been set up. You would be joining a team, and we can always help you out with talking points ahead of time. So it's really a very low stakes kind of lobbying that doesn't even require you to drive anywhere. So I am scrolling through.
Maybe drop in the chat if you found a meeting when you signed up for one.
Sounds great, Lisa. Yeah, please let us know if you found your legislator.
Let me give it one more minute for you guys to look for lobby meetings. Oh, Rachel already signed up. Thank you, Rachel. Or maybe you've already attended one of these lobby meetings. Okay. And there's both senators and assembly people. So you can sign up for at least 2 lobby meetings. And some people might own more than one home. So they could sign up where their vacation home is. Or I used to go to lobby meetings because my daughters lived in Rochester and I was helping pay for their living. So I figured I was also a constituent.
And I'm just seeing that, oh darn, the meeting with my senator was today, earlier in the day. I missed it, but that's okay. I can always write her a letter.
Trish, are you looking for the link or you can't find a meeting with your member? You can type it in chat. And maybe someone can help Patricia out. All right, let's go. Thanks for so much, Andra. Let's go do an action we can take right now together. And we have used our tool to have you submit emails to your assembly people many times, and we're going to keep pushing that tool out. However, we know that they will just count those letters. They won't read what you wrote. They'll just say, okay, another letter for New York Heat. So we are going to encourage you tonight to look up your assembly member's email address or actual office address. Maybe some of you are old school and you might write something with a pen on some paper, put it in an envelope, and put a stamp on it and put it in the mail. You never know. This could happen. Or maybe you send a fax. You can still fax a lot of your members' offices. So you can look up the different ways to contact your assembly member. If someone could drop the assembly lookup tool, or I could do it. And then write your own letter. It doesn't have to be long. It can be very short, in fact, about, your disappointment over New York Heat not being in the budget, your personal reason for wanting to see New York Heat pass this year. Maybe you'll talk about some of the misconceptions and you want to give them a chance to make sure they have the facts. So write a little email and send that along, or an actual letter and then put it in the mail. I know that's pretty wild request. We haven't done that in a while. But anything that can kind of mix things up and get their attention at this point is the key. And there's a couple of recent articles that came out that I would love for you to print out and send to or email to your legislators. This first one is a great op-ed by Assemblymember Harry Bronson. And the reason to share that is he's not just some far out left-wing person in a New York City district. He is an upstate, pretty senior legislator who is very well respected and very well known in the assembly, has a lot of clout. So the fact that he published this op-ed is something we want your assembly member to know about, and we want them to read the op-ed because it's full of good information. Here also is a really good blog post. These are both from last week by Christopher Casey of NRDC. And it talks about how New York Heat can save us billions of dollars by not spending on obsolete gas infrastructure. So take some time to share these. And Liz did a pop quiz, so I'm gonna do a pop quiz for you. Pop quiz. Your assembly person is already a bill sponsor and is a New York Heat champion. Should you still reach out to them, yes or no? Yes, Emma says yes. Emma is right. Absolutely, says Sharon. Yes, yes, says Ellen. Absolutely, yes. Thank them and keep the pressure on. They need to be able to convincingly say when New York Heat comes up for discussion, which Speaker Hasty has promised that it will, my constituents will not shut up about this bill. Okay? So keep thanking them and keep the pressure on them by thanking them and sharing the latest information with them and tell them how can you help them get it passed. Pop quiz. My assembly member is a member of the minority party, a Republican. Should I try to get them to get on the New York Heat Act and support it? Actually, no. The answer to this one is no. The reason is because they have no sway whatsoever with the assembly leadership who decides these things. B, they are very deeply ingrained again with the gas industry and against the New York Heat Act. And C, lots of outreach to Republicans is more likely to put them on the alert that we're pushing hard for this bill and make them push harder against us. So we're actually not going to reach out to Republicans or members of the minority member. Now, if you reached out to your Republican in the past, which I have too, sometimes just to test the email tool, because I live in a Republican district, it's okay if they get a couple emails. But we don't want to see Republicans getting hundreds of emails and phone calls about this bill. We'd rather them just stay out of it altogether. So you're not going to try to convince them to support the New York Heat Act. And if you're question, if your assembly member is a Democrat, a member of the majority party, but not on the New York Heat Act, should you reach out to them and try to get them to co-sponsor the New York Heat Act? Yes, very good. You guys are very good at this. Okay, terrific. Try to make sure that they know that this is a practical, reasonable, popular bill that will save money and benefit everybody. Try to get them the best talking points that we shared with you tonight. Don't just talk to them about the climate law and meeting emissions reduction, all these things that we care about. If they're against this bill, they don't really care about that, right? So we're going to try to get to them in other ways, get to their pocketbook, get to their, get to them politically. We need the Democrats, even if they don't ever get on the bill, we need them to be willing to vote for it. Okay. Next slide, please. So we have for you, we are going to go back to Albany again. And we want to make this an exciting and fun day for all of you. So we have created a poll that we're going to put in the field now to ask your opinions on how we can make this mobilization the best ever. So can you guys see the poll? Is it in the field now? Because I can't tell what you can see, so you have to tell me. Are you seeing it? Okay. So go ahead and fill out this poll. It has, I think, 3 questions. And we want to know what we could do to make this June 5th mobilization that we're going to ask you to sign up and join us with the best ever. What did you like about the ones you've attended? What would make the next one, do you think, like the most fun, the most strategic, the most impactful for you and the people in your life? I'm going to give you guys a second to fill out this poll. About a quarter of you have filled it out. Okay, 65% of you have filled it out. We're getting there. I'm going to give it 30 more seconds. Gail is asking, why are we going to go on a Thursday? Well, it is a day that was available. It's 1 week before the session was scheduled to end, and we were able to secure a good meeting spot. So it is on a Thursday. I've had some parents tell me it's going to be a good day. And the legislature is in session. That's right, Gail. Yes. Okay. All right. I'm going to close out the poll and share the results. Sorry about the barking. Okay, so many of you have been to one of our mobilizations, more than half of you. That's exciting. 17% of you haven't been, but you want to come. Maybe this is the time you can come. That would be exciting. If you already attended, what were the best parts? Getting to know other advocates is absolutely everybody's favorite. I suspected that might be true. I actually did think snacks would be higher on the list. That's a bit surprising. I'm pretty proud of my snacks that I provide, but okay, fine. And loving the lining the halls, the lobby visits, and the rallies. Okay. And what do you think what you'd like to see? About half of you would like to see singing. Storytelling's popular. Large props are exciting. More families and children. I agree. I'd say that would be my number one. And nobody said none of the above. So, okay. Well, we're going to take this into account as we continue our planning. And I'm going to turn this back over to Andra for the last 5 minutes of the meeting to tell you what we're doing next.
So next slide, please. Great. So now that you've kind of seen what we're brainstorming about for the mobilization, it's time to open that link and sign up. You want to sign up now so that you get all of our updates. You want to sign up now and keep that link handy so that you can share it with your friends and your networks. We want this to be big and beautiful. This is what we're going to be doing to go all out to pass New York heat. Also in the chat, I put a phone banking recruiting link for the calls through Food and Water Watch to ask people to join us for June 5th. It's a super important thing that you can do for just like an hour or two a week, and that would be really helpful for the effort. It's the easiest phone banking that you will ever do because you will be calling people who have already done events with us, people who are very enthusiastic about New York heat. Next slide, please. And please also sign up for the June Power Hour. So we've pretty strategically planned it. We're holding it on June 12th, 1 week after our New York Heat Advocacy Day, and 5 days before the end of the legislative session. So during this Power Hour, we will recap how things are going, how the June 5th went, and we'll also be able to share with you any urgent last-minute actions that pop up. Some years we've had instructions to call this legislator, call that legislator, send emails here. We're going to keep you updated about all of that. And then finally, next slide. So here we are, the final slide of the evening. Let's just go over all the different ways that you can take action in the next 5 weeks and that we're all going to work so hard together to do so that we can pass New York heat. So first, write a personal letter to your assembly member. New York heat matters to me because, right? I am definitely going to write one. I have a lot of good information from tonight's call that I want to include. If you found a legislator that you are in their district with the New York Renew's virtual lobby visits, please sign up for that and you will get information about that lobby visit. We have those 7 events in May, and when we get more scheduled, we'll be sharing them with you. If you live near one of those events, please consider attending. If you don't live near one, but you know people who do, please invite them and share that info with them. We already asked you to please sign up for the June mobilization as soon as possible, and please share it out throughout your networks. Sign up for the phone banking with Food and Water Watch, and register for the June 12th Power Hour. What other things will you be doing in the coming month to pass New York heat? Please let us know your ideas. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Andra. Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much to all of our presenters and to our back end team who keeps this meeting rolling and a safe place for everybody to meet. Let's unshare the slides and just give each other sort of a virtual hello. It's so nice to see all of you. We're so just really honored and humbled that with all that's happening in your personal life, in your community, your town, this state, this country, and this world, that you choose to spend a whole hour of that with us once a month to engage in this uh, wonky campaign of ours to make good plans for gas transition and energy affordability. It's an incredible honor to work with each and every one of you. I hope you'll be able to join us in Albany on June 5th and at a local event before then. Write those letters, keep those calls going, get to know your assembly member, get to know their staffers by name. Make sure they know who you are. Make sure they know what a person you are in your community and that you're connected to lots of other people. That will make an impact on them. Let them know that if you're active in your church or synagogue and that you're all the congregation are aware of New York Heat. Let's keep building out this network. Think of who you know in your network that maybe isn't ever going to get involved in a campaign, but maybe they would do one thing with you for you between now and the end of session to get New York Heat passed. Maybe they would just make one office visit with you, one phone call on your behalf, write their own letter. Try to think about who those people are in your life. And just because their connection with you, they will do the thing you ask because they love you. All right, so we also love you. And on that note, we're going to close out the meeting. And just so makes us so happy to be here with you. And we'll see you out there. Hang in there and have a lovely evening.